your off-road experience, because I feel like nobody really ever knows about that.
Oh man, that was a good time in life. That was a lot of fun.
Like you getting helicoptered in to fix things secretly.
Oh man, that was something.
So it's Ultra 4, right?
No, we used to do trophy truck.
Trophy truck.
Yeah,
okay.
So it was the trophy trucks. And basically I'd help the team out kind of tuning wise on their Motec for about a year. And it was a buddy of mine that I'd gone to high school with was on this team, and he saw the videos and he would just ask me stuff, and I just, just give advice, and that's it, And then just talking for a while, he was like, hey, you want to come out and help us Vegas to Reno? Like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'd love to check this stuff out. So I went out there, and I didn't know what I was in for, but they had their regular tuner there or whatever. You could already feel that there was kind of a weird vibe in the air because they brought me in, and this guy's there.
Two tuners.
Yeah, and I can work with anybody. You know
red
me.
Flag.
Yeah, and you know me. I'm like, hey, buddy, how you doing? But yeah, I got along with them just fine. And they first in qualifying, they're having this crazy issue where the truck would just shut off and they'd kill starters and do all this wild stuff or whatever.
So what's the combo in this truck then? Is it?
This is a Viper V10 naturally aspirated turbo 400.
Did not expect to hear Viper V10.
Yeah, it was cool. Kind of sounded like a boat going across, but it made 750, to the tire. NA, which is that's killer number. That's crazy numbers.
Yeah, and you needed to do that for a long time.
Yeah, for basically 800 to 1,000 miles or
like
whatever.
Wide open throttle.
Yeah, and this race was from Vegas to Reno, so all the way across the desert, Yeah. And basically, the truck ended up way up in the Death Valley, the middle of the mountains, and they get on the radio, and I'm in the support truck where I kind of float to different pits in case something happens. I might have to just jump in, And the truck breaks out there, and they're like, hey, we shut it off, but it's still running. We don't know what's going on. And then eventually it just died. So, and then they would try to start it, nothing. They're like, the starter went bad or something happened. We're not sure. And the guy looks at me, and he's like, well, you're up. I'm like, what are you talking about? He takes me, and they kicked all their media crew out of their chase helicopter. And they're like, you're going to need a race suit. You're going to need these tools. And I took the tools and the race suit, jumped in the helicopter. They flew me into Death Valley, and they were like, we can't take you to the bottom to the truck, but we're going to drop you off on the top of this mountain. Yeah. And and they couldn't even land on the top of the mountain. He could just hover. So I had to jump out and then take these I took car batteries, a toolbox. So I'm sitting on top of this mountain with all this stuff, and he flies away. And all I got my cell phone.
It's like SEAL Team 6.
Yeah, and I'm in a race suit. And
how hot was it out there?
It's Death Valley, so it's hot. This is not a cold thing.
During the hot part of the year too.
Of course.
It's like 100 something out there.
It's probably in the 90s. Okay. I would think. I mean, it might have got hotter, but it could be me exaggerating at some point. But
no cloud at all in the sky.
Yeah. But I got 3 car batteries. I got to get down, and I could see the truck, but it's a good ways away. Like I'm on top of a mountain, and so I get in the toolbox and I shove in what tools I feel like I'm gonna need. I put all 3 batteries, in my arms, and I just start going down this mountain. And I got about a football field or so away from the truck, and the batteries were I was about done. So I dropped 1 battery, and I took 2 over to the truck, and the guys are missing. The driver and the co-driver, they're not there. I'm like, what's going on, So I just get to work. I just got under the truck, start changing the batteries, start doing all the stuff, trying to get this thing fixed, get the batteries changed. And I'm tinkering, and then those guys come over and go, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I'm fixing this thing. And they're talking to me for a bit, and then the support truck rolls up. Well, you're only allowed the driver and the co-driver.
Very sick week of it.
Yeah. And I'm underneath the truck. Well, when this guy gets out, he's, this is like the patrol for the race, race coordinator guy.
Like the official.
Official, yeah. So he comes over, and to make myself not seen, I literally climbed up on the drive shaft, and I'm bear hugging the drive shaft and cross-legged, and I'm hanging from the drive shaft, and I'm looking at the guy right, like eyeball to eyeball, because there's no bed on the truck. It's fully open. And he's standing at the corner of the bed talking to the driver and the co-driver. And they're all BSing for, felt like forever. And I'm just staring at him like holding this drive shaft. And they get him cooled out or whatever, and he takes off, and they tell him they're going to fix it or whatever. And then the co-driver ends up, I tell him where that guy drove away, and he runs up and finds the battery. So he's far enough away to where I can kind of tinker with it for a bit. And I'm in a race seat, so at that point, I'm the co-driver. And I find out, the starter had got burned up. Basically, the starter was on the entire time they were driving, so it cooked it. So there's always another starter bolted onto those trucks, too. So I got that changed out, the batteries.
So you guys keep it bolted on there, ready to just swap
there's
out.
drive. Yeah, it's got pretty much another truck bolted to the truck, So
and it's got 3 why 3 batteries? Does it just have 3 batteries, or did they just tell you, you better bundle up and bring 3? Because that seems excessive.
There could be a bad one. I think I want to say it took 2, but I ended up, putting the bad batteries in the middle. And that's the other thing I did was once I got it to start, I just used a wire to start it. And I was like, don't shut it off because I don't have your starter wire connected anymore. So it won't just run the starter. And then I got them moving. And, I still had to get the toolbox and all that stuff. And I didn't have cell service down in the ravine. So I walked right up that mountain again. And I get up to the top and I call for the helicopter sport to come pick me up or whatever. And he's like, it's too windy. You gotta come over here. Oh, this is back down the ravine and up another mountain on the other side, a pretty good distance. And now I've got a toolbox and I'm on the other mountain. So now I have to carry this toolbox.
Take off your race suit at this point yet? Or are you still
I still have the race.
They told me to wear it.
I felt like I'd have to carry that too. It's no matter what, I'm screwed. So if I got it on, at least I can, get through because this is the desert too. So, you don't want to be, you kind of want the long sleeves and all this, all the stuff. So, and to be protected from cactus and everything else because that's everywhere.
Rattlesnakes.
Yeah, all of it.
Biting your ankle.
All of it. So I climbed down the mountain with this toolbox, and then I'm climbing up this other ravine to get to the helicopter. And I'm literally dying at this point. I have no water. I totally forgot to give me any water. And I forgot to even ask. It was just such a thing. So I had no water. And the toolbox at this point, just one chug after another. So I'd put the toolbox up, and then I'd walk up to the toolbox. I'd put the toolbox up, and I'd walk up to the toolbox. And it took forever. Finally got to the helicopter, and the guy's like, he's the hippiest guy, he flew for National Geographic and stuff too. So he's such a hippie. But he's like, man, you look hot, He hands me a Gatorade. I down the Gatorade, one drink, no problem. He gives me another one, gone, no problem. He can see I was dead. So I got everything in the helicopter, and he's like, bro, I'm going to give you the ride of your life. This is my first time. This is my first time in a helicopter. I hadn't met Garrett yet. So man, he took me through that ravine, and he was bouncing off the banks through the canyon, full rip, and in this helicopter. And that was probably one of the most wicked experiences desert racing I ever had. But the truck ended up getting back. We found the wire to the PDM was loose, so as it arced up and down, it would just kick the starter out because it was all CAN bus and all that kind of good stuff. So we got it all fixed up. Truck finished the race and did pretty good. But yeah, it was at that point the owner of the team was like, boy, you're part of Mills Motorsports.
Quite a friend you got.
Yeah. And then I ended up being like, they rolled the truck and I fixed it, with literally like a crescent wrench. I fixed this truck all. I did some really cool stuff on the whole desert thing. I have some old videos on the channel. If you find some of them, they're gems. And the stuff we used to do, I loved it because the helicopter would be chasing and we're on the radios and we're tracking the truck, and it was an adventure every time.
The fact that you hiked back up with those tools is pretty commendable because I would have been like, these tools are staying right here.
And I probably should have done that, but my dad always made me put the tools away, so it's like I can't just leave the tools.
I know. I feel like we'll come back when there's no wind.
They probably would have been just fine too. I was like, I left the tools. They were like, oh, no problem. We'll get more.
Exactly.
I didn't know no better, so I just, I was trying to give it my all.
Man, that's awesome. So then you spent another year helping out that team after.
A couple years.
Okay.
Yeah, once I got hired, it was a regular deal. You know, they fly me in, pay me, just, you know, tune on the truck, work on the truck. And then I was always in this floater truck, and anything crazy that would happen with the truck, it was like, there's Brent to do it. Like, I changed the tranny on it a couple times in the middle of the desert. Like, it was awesome. I love that stuff, though. You know,
it seems
I
like
love
a fun deal.
Persevere, you know, and get through it. And desert racing is that. You've got to be ready for anything.
Just as hardcore as it gets.
It's a hurry up and wait thing. You know, you hurry to your spot and then you sit almost all day.
Sounds like drag racing.
Yeah. Except you only see the trucks every now and then, you know. Seeing some of the helicopters was the coolest part, because some of them were crazy, you know.
Those guys are having the most fun, those pilots.
Yeah.
They just get to rip around all day.
Yeah. And they got the team owner and a couple of their media crew in there, and they just...
It's not bumpy. There's probably great, they probably stop at like a nice catering area.
Stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And that was some of it. I mean, we had... The team had one pit down in Parker, Arizona, where they literally had full football field, turf, and hot tub. So we were like living it up in the desert, you know, and then catered food. And then when you went out, it was just work your tail off, you know, just get the truck to finish. And we ended up doing really good. The truck ended up being...
So Mills Motorsports, are they still out there doing it?
No, Gary Mills actually passed away a few years ago, so that was kind of where the team left off. I know his son's got the truck, and maybe one day they'll get a wild hair or do a race. I know the whole team would like to get back together. We all stay in touch, and it's one of those things, you know, you build a little family out there, and you guys, you know, because you go to war, you know, together. And
those trucks have changed a lot, too. Once they switched to doing a lot of rear motor stuff, it seems like it made it so much easier on the drivers, where, like, all the front nose weight was just like brutal, and then like you see the ones with the rear motor, they're just kind of like gliding floating over.
Yeah,
it's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, and that whole technology in those things is crazy too. It's cool. Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
What trans did you say was in it? 400?
Turbo 400. Yeah. Yep. Just a good built Turbo 400.
Mm-hmm. Lockup.
Yeah.
There.
They were awesome.
I'm sure the lockup would help a lot if they even did it at the time.
Yeah, a lot of it, you're just on and off the throttle, you know, so much. And then we did a bunch of traction control strategies. And then, like, seeing them go across the lake beds, that was the coolest, because they'd have just giant dust wakes and just be going 140 mile an hour.
Guys, thank you for tuning in to the Bogetti Clips YouTube channel. For the full podcast, check us out on Bogetti Studios YouTube and all your audio platforms. Also, hit that subscribe button to not miss out on any of the new Bogetti clips coming up.